professor up at Columbia University, and I have the distinct privilege of teaching some brilliant leaders of tomorrow as we see them. Young people who are looking not only to start up nonprofits, but to take nonprofits and help bring them along to the next century. And my background is in technology, but it's also in media. And I'm kind of always looking for ways to link that media to tell stories better. And I think today, the sensation of our accelerating hyperconnectivity has been both thrilling and confounding in this past year. Fake news, hacking, division. I don't think I need to remind anybody in this room how far we've come, though. How many new tools that civil society humanitarians have now at their fingertips, and indeed in their back pockets, to both witness change in society and to convene around that change. And we're also experiencing some trends that we talk about. The hashtag activism. We talk about witnessing, the ability of people to not only witness things on a very local level together, but also to prove it in new ways. And so that brings to the fore to us as leaders of these nonprofits and people in this NGO and certainly nonprofit community to also be more accountable to those in our societies that we serve. So we talk a lot about technology, we talk a lot about interactivity. Our sector hasn't been very interactive until very recently. And it's a new way of being. These are dumb tools, as we've all pointed out, but they change our behavior. They change our relationships to each other and to our institutions. And in that, we can either get further apart or we can collaborate together. And there are some interesting trends I want to share with you. First of all, look how far we've all come. I don't know how many of you were carrying around cell phones to the far left, and that was only 1990. I know for some of you that's not too long ago, and for some of you that's kind of before your time. But what happened here is that we went from a device with a screen to a screen with a device. And what that has done is kind of had us all rethinking this mobility, certainly, but also the screen, the small screen, and what we can say about ourselves, but also how we can convene around social problems that heretofore we may have heard about, or we may have dealt about contextually, but now we can see them, they're in our faces, in our back pockets, and we can connect around them in ways. So digital in 2018, the world's internet users passed the 4 billion mark. Now that's maybe impressive, maybe that's impressive because there's still so many people to get connected yet. But it's not going away, it's morphing, just some stats to throw out there, digital around the world. It's just getting more and more connected in new ways. And what that connectivity does is both bring new voices to the table, and in those new voices, new issues to the table that now become front and center. But it also brings us together apart, or apart when we're together. Right? This is a photographer that took pictures for about 2 months of people in his neighborhood, people around his society, and he airbrushed out the cell phones and the smartphones that people were carrying, just to kind of emphasize that it's pretty strange to be together in these ways. There's another one just married, and it's that attention market, it's that distraction, that fear of missing out, right? And another one. And it certainly has this kind of connectivity both distracts us, which is worrisome, but there's a bigger trend here to collective action by people who haven't been collective or outspoken in the past. So what we're seeing now, we're in a movement moment. And I think, we can say that a lot. And a lot of speakers get up here and try to declare eras or give them a name. But we're seeing, as the evolution of this technology comes to fore, social media technology, is that, of course, first we could see ourselves online, and then our fourth grade teachers would find us on Facebook. And then later, as this evolved, it brought us together in ways, and then it pulled us apart. But now what we're seeing is that it's not so much about we know we're all there, and we know that we kind of belong to a new kind of reality online. But now we're on the cusp of a participation wave that we're just starting to see in this country and indeed in some other countries as well. And what we've got here right now in the United States is too many people volunteering. I don't want to say too many, isn't that great? But our capacity in the nonprofit sector, for the most part, is showing that it can't absorb all of these volunteers so quickly. So this participation boom is kind of like water has reached places that have been dry for years. I love this quote from Mika Siegfried, who is the co-founder of Civic Hall here, which is a technology lab to bring people together in new ways. So this participation boom is also a form. I don't know how many of you have read this wonderful new book by Henry Timms called New Power. But a lot of us in this sector have been looking at this phenomenon and how technology changes us, our behaviors and our relationships. It also creates new power, where we who need to fundraise, we're raising currency, but now it's also about current. It's an electric grid. And we're finding that our roles as nonprofits are becoming kind of that electric grid around which to bring people both with resources, financial resources, but certainly that social capital and that kind of networking. In the old power world, power was held by a few. In the new power world, it's going to be made by many. It's not downloads anymore, it's uploads. It's not commands, it's sharing. It's not leader-driven, it's peer-driven. We're still trying to figure out how to lead in this sector in a way that can help our social causes to accelerate. But there's also a trend happening that is interesting too, where people are using this technology to organize and are starting to borrow the tools and the learnings from the political sector, not the political part of the bad sector, but organizing tactics, so that if you can amass a crowd, now what do you do with them? These crowds have been really good at saying no. And these crowds have been really good at saying stop. But now these crowds are being faced with, how do we say go? How do we create something in the place of those things that we together are beginning to disappear, if you will, or to reshape. Giving Tuesday, obviously, is one of the most successful examples of new power using this kind of connectivity in our sector, not only to fundraise now, but to raise awareness. And it's raising a lot of money. It's getting people involved in Giving Tuesday on that one day of giving a lot. Participation is going up a lot. The beauty of this stuff is that it's actionable and it's connected and it's extensible. Extensible meaning that people can make it their own. It's not just under somebody's brand. So a lot of people started Feeding America thought Giving Food Day, right? Why make it Giving Tuesday, right? And you have Michigan, University of Michigan, Giving Blue Day. That's their school color, right? And there's a Giving Shoes Day for Dress for Success and other things. And they're just raising a lot of money left and right. I was, beyond this participation boom, which is both forcing a lot of, I don't want to say fortress organizations, but certainly traditional organizations, to be interactive, to both increase awareness and engagement and fundraising. And we're using immersive media to get people involved in new ways. And that kind of interaction is being really wonderfully done. My time is up already, but I wanted to share the next phase and the big takeaway. One trend I wanted to share, which is a 3-minute video. And it's about a new trend by people cross-sector to come together to make change. And in this case, it's about food. Can we just play that and we'll wrap it up, because it's a collaboration movement. This is one of the new on the cusp.
For thousands of years, there's been hunger in this world.
Hunger is something that we can solve in our lifetime.
Let's try together to find a solution for the communities that we serve.
Hunger is an epidemic in the United States. That is unacceptable, but it's also not necessarily understood.
47% of people living in food insecurity don't qualify for benefits. Their income levels exceed the poverty level.
There are still large food deserts where people can't get access to good vegetables. If you happen to be poor or happen to be a minority, you have way less options to make changes in your diet.
When we start to think about the detriments to health, food is at the top of that list.
And if we truly want to end hunger, we must bring others to the table to create something very different. And the collaboratory is that difference.
To really build something significant, you really can't just use philanthropy. You've got to be more creative, thoughtful about how to generate more sustainable, more scalable streams of revenue, and how to create systemic change that can ultimately solve some of the problems that we are working on a daily basis.
We have a lot of work to do, and no company, no organization, no matter who you are, does well in an unwell society.
It isn't only about money. I'm asking you to contribute your own social capital to this.
The opportunity for people who are working very much in the same space to bring to bear knowledge, evidence, data, and to make the economic case for improved health, particularly through improved nutrition, I think is absolutely priceless.
My highest contribution would be it made a lasting difference. 5, 10, or 15 years from now, that our customers, our associates, the communities at large have available to them affordable, healthy food that can help them grow.
By coming together to try, even though we don't know the final outcome, that's a commitment to learn together, to persist, and it's a commitment to include the community that we're serving, to make sure that the solutions that come out of this will be the ones that are sustainable for them and their families.
So that's one of the nation's first collaborations of 8 a media company, McKinsey, Hearst, Greater Boston Food Bank, Stop and Shop, a whole bunch of people coming together for one to accelerate hunger.